G'day, Keithy here. I hope you're doing really well. Thanks for joining me, part 4. We're finally there. This has taken so long to get together for you. I probably need to explain why it's taken so long to get together. So I started this project, this Thermofan project, funny enough, in 2019, believe it or not, in November 2019. My aim was to have it all done in the summertime here in Australia. Over Christmas, it's summertime. We don't get wintry Christmases. So I intentionally left it until summertime because I wanted to do it at the hottest part of the year. My reasoning behind that, obviously, if it's the hottest part of the year, it's the hardest time that this Thermofan is going to have to try and keep the engine cool. Up here, our summer temperatures get up to around 40 degrees Celsius, and the humidity is just through the roof. So it all made sense. So what you're seeing here, and what you may have also noticed if you've watched the fuel consumption series, which is linked there if you want to have a look, is that I had the temp gauge for this temperature controller for the Thermofan installed throughout the fuel consumption series, so that what I could do is I could run the engine fan normally, as the car normally is, and I could get some data, get some temperature data to see where it likes to sit in order to set the temperature where I wanted to trigger the fan. So what we're going to do in this part number 4, which is the last part, although I'm not ruling out a winter part to this series coming soon, so stay tuned. I know it's nearly winter now. We're going to go and do some kilometres around town with the Thermofan on. We're going to do some highway Ks. We're going to go up and do a mountain drive. We're going to attach a trailer to the back of it. Thank you very much to Jeremy if you're watching. I really appreciate you letting me use your trailer for this. And if I can, I might even squeeze a little drive-in out of the Roving Around 4x4 Club farm and just see how it goes in low range and off-road conditions. And I'll report back to you, and then you can make your mind up if this is something that interests you, that you want to do. And maybe you can follow or take some ideas from what I've done here and apply it yourself to your car. It doesn't have to be a Range Rover, it can be a Nissan Patrol or any other four-wheel drive for that matter, or it can be a car like the Ute. I've done the same thing to my Ute. It's fantastic and it works really well. So fingers crossed you get out of this what I did. I really recommend staying to the end, guys, because it's not all peaches and cream. There are some things, some considerations that you might want to take in at the end of the video. So thanks for sticking around, guys. If you do enjoy the content and you want to see more of it, feel free to subscribe, hit the like button, and let me know your thoughts on this too. I mean, I do these videos up because they're things that I like to do and I thought I'd share them with you. But yeah, your appreciation and comments and encouragement keep me putting them up on YouTube. So if you like what you're seeing, guys, let me know and I'll keep it going, because there's always something that I'm tinkering around with. I've got a few little EAS things in the pipeline and some more stuff on the Range Rover and the Ute that I will I'll definitely share with you as well. So enjoy the footage, guys. Alright, so this is the final product. You can see that's installed. There's our switch. The wiring's all tucked away under there. We've got auto position, as explained before in that video up there. Auto position will run the fan at low speed all the time, and when this decides that the temperature is high enough, it will switch to high speed. Off position, fan's not going to run whatsoever. Up position, manual position, is full speed when I tell it to go full speed, which is full time. It's all off ignition power, so when I turn the ignition on, the gauge comes on. That's the present temperature. You can see my dash cam is just lit up, and so is my tyre pressure monitor. So 75 degree coolant temp right now, 76-ish. I've not long come back from a drive. Fan's in the off position. Fan's running at low speed and will kick to high if it needs to, as you can hear. Low speed there. Fan's off. Interesting to note, I've made it so that the temperature gauge will still read even with the fan off. Manual. Fan's on high speed. Pretty simple. Turn the car on. yep, temperature's up a little bit. I might just switch over to low speed on the fan because the temperature's frequently high. We don't want to let that temperature get out of control. You can see in here I have set the temperature to come on at 90 degrees. I can see through this camera here that you can't really read that. It looks a little bit hazy, I guess. It's very clear to me sitting in the driver's seat right now. Don't mind about that. I can change the colour of the background there. I figured the green matches all the dash stuff there. I'd leave it green. Could always change it. Up and down just alters the numbers when you want to set it. Very simple, very effective, and it works so far. So we're sitting in the driveway. Fan's only operating at low speed. There's a little red light just here that'll come on when the fan goes into high speed mode, just to let me know that it's happening. If I turn this switch off, the little red light will still come on if it wants to try and make the fan run, but it won't allow the fan to run. So the only time that this will have any input over the fan, obviously as discussed, is when that's in auto mode down the bottom there. So it's very simple. Let's go and put a few Ks on this thing and see how it goes with the Thermofan in. Okay, so the Thermofan's fitted up. I'm very excited to see how it goes around town. So far, very hot day again. It's about 35 degrees. It's still quite a warm place to be up here in Townsville. And I've done a bit of a drive so far just around town. We've established at home that the temperature's okay at idle. The fan in low speed is pretty much enough, but it'll just kick to high speed and then drop the temp back down very easily. I've got the temperature set at 90 degrees for the fan to kick into high speed, and after about 15 minutes of driving so far, excuse me, the temperature's still not climbed to 90 degrees in order for the fan to kick into high speed. That's really positive to me. I hope that this is an ongoing thing, that the fan at low speed is sufficient around town, and I'm actually very keen to see if the fan might not even be needed on the highway run. So far looking very good. Alright, let's see how hot it gets at 0 to 100. Driving hard. We're at 85, start 10. We're at 100. 85 still. 86, just got to 86. I think this Thermofan's doing reasonably well here. The temperature's been maintained between the upper and lower. Basically the fan speed high on and off limit. It's currently at 87, on its way down again. It's just sitting at 100 k's an hour. Doing very well. Okay, so we've just been out at the roving around 4x4 park doing some four-wheel driving. We're just airing up the tyres now. But I'm happy to report that the Thermofan was really comfortable driving around the tracks, up and down the hill climbs, and idling along really slowly in low range. It maintained the temperature, no worries, out on these slow tracks. So let's pump these tyres up, we'll get the trailer back on and go home and see how she goes towing the trailer. Alright, so I'm a couple of kilometres up Mount Stewart at the moment, and I'm at 101 degrees on my little temp gauge here. Just the standard car, no trailer, usual daily runabout load. 101 degrees. Now I've established from the fuel consumption test where I had this gauge installed that this gauge here reads about 7 degrees cooler than what the actual engine temperature is reading on the engine block. So when it's saying 101 degrees here, it's actually about 108 degrees on the motor. So it's 102 degrees. I've just pulled up, I'm going to let it cool down. First impression's not too good if it can't handle something like this with just the car and me in it. That's not too good. We're going to need to formulate something, trying to find a way to be able to keep this car cool under those load conditions, because the engine fan, sure as buggery, did not have a problem keeping the car cool, even with 2 tons of camper trailer on the back. So it does just go to show how much the belt driven engine fans can move. Yes, they may rob you a bit of horsepower in doing it, but they have no problem keeping that engine cool. So I suppose there's a trade-off with everything. It's cooling down quite, you can't see that, but it's at 97 now and the temperature's coming down. So I'll just let it keep going down until I've cooled it down sufficiently to keep driving up the hill. Alrighty, so I've pulled up and we're at 101. We got up to 103 degrees. I even locked it in first gear for the climb up Mount Stewart. But I've decided to pull up. That's quite hot, and we know that that's about 7 degrees lower than what the actual engine temp is, so I'm not going to risk cooking the motor. It's funny to see that the actual temp gauge is still reading only halfway, given that the actual engine temp's probably 110 or close to. But anyway, I think we've proven that towing a heavy trailer up Mount Stewart is not the ideal thing to do with a Thermofan on board. You can see the temp's coming down pretty quickly just while we're sitting here, so it has no problem at idle bringing the temperature down. Just not real good under heavy load conditions. Alrighty, so I've done a few Ks around town, and I've done a few Ks on the highway with the big Range Rover with the belt-driven fan still attached. So I've got some data. What I noticed is on the highway, around 85 degrees, according to my Magic New Gauge, is where the temperature likes to sit. Around town it was a little bit different, obviously, because you're pulling up to traffic, engine revs are low, fan's not spinning very fast, so I noticed that the temperature was creeping up. At one stage it got up into about 95 degrees on the gauge, which I've established is about 7 degrees lower than the actual engine temperature. So 95 is about 102 at the head. Bit high, but these things are designed to run a little bit warm. It's all in the interest of fuel consumption. These guys made these engines run hot to try and conserve fuel, and a hotter engine will run more efficiently. So yeah, around town the temperatures that I saw was between sort of 81 degrees on the gauge and up to about 93, 94 at times. Even while waiting for my daughter at school, it would hit 100 degrees, which is 107 at the head. I didn't like that. But nonetheless, I got some data. And then what I've done is I've gone, as you've seen, and put the Thermofan in and done some kilometres around town. I've done some highway kilometres, and I've sat idling for hours and hours. What I've noticed is around town it's plenty capable at low speed to maintain the temperature in between sort of 84 and 90 degrees on the gauge, and that's fine with me. Every now and then, if we're sitting idling for a while, it'll kick into high speed and it cools the engine down back to about 84, 85 degrees, and then low speed will continue to operate with the fan. So that's not a problem, as the car is standard 33s everyday weight in the car, so she's quite heavy. The Thermofan doesn't have a problem around town. On the highway, I've noticed that it sits pretty well square at 85 odd degrees, just with the fan in low speed. Keep in mind it's the height of summer, it's hot, it's over 35 degrees right now, so I've basically installed this and started testing it in summer with the intention of working it very, very hard. And that's exactly what I did. And now I'm up here on Mount Stewart. It's a lovely warm day. I would rather be a little bit cooler than what it is, but I can't change that. So I've driven up Mount Stewart with just my everyday weight. With the engine fan, the temperatures were fine. It only got up to about 91, 92 degrees. The engine fan was plenty capable of keeping the engine at about that 92 degrees. Did see 93, but it didn't keep going up at all. So then what I did was, with the engine fan still attached, I went over and saw my good mate Jeremy, and if you check out the credits at the end of this video, I'll put a link to his YouTube channel, and I thank him very much for letting me borrow his trailer. So his trailer is about 1.5 tons to 2 tons. We didn't exactly weigh it, but it's very heavy. I noticed it was on the back of the P38. And I thought, rather than drive around town and drive out on the highway with this trailer attached, we had to put it through its paces. I wanted to make it hot. Hot, hot, hot. I wanted to get the engine really working hard. So I've come to Mount Stewart here. Now this is quite a steep climb. If you were riding a push bike, you wouldn't have a lot of fun
riding up here. It's quiet, which is good, which means I don't have a lot of traffic to encounter should I have something go wrong. And with just the engine fan on, the engine temperature got up to about 101, 102 degrees, which is my cutoff point. It didn't get any higher than that, so I could continue driving without a problem. It got warm, but it didn't get hot, I would say. And that's with a tonne and a half, maybe a little bit more, plus all of the weight in the car. So it's quite a heavy load, and I'm asking it to do a lot on a hot day to come up a hill like this. I got to my turnaround point here, which is about halfway up Mount Stewart, and let the car cool down and just sort of analysed the temperatures. And then I went home and took the trailer off. And then we get to where I am now, same spot on Mount Stewart. I did the run with the Thermofan on and just the everyday load in the car, 33-inch tyres. And I did have to pull up halfway between where I am now and the start of this climb, because I saw 100 degrees on the gauge, and that's pretty hot. I'm a little bit upset with that. I won't say that I didn't expect it, because the Thermofan came off a Falcon, it's a sedan, and it's only ever going to tow at most, I think, 1.2 tonnes with a brake trailer and a trailer controller on it. Those cars rarely ever tow heavy loads, so it would be more than enough to keep those cars cool. It is a big fan. It's the same size as the engine fan that came off the Range Rover. But obviously with it in high speed, it's just not quite enough with a big load to keep this big Range Rover cool coming up a hill like this. So I'm going to have to go back to the drawing board with that, but it didn't end there. So what I did is I went and got Jeremy's trailer again. Thanks very much for that, Jeremy. And I chucked it on, and I decided to come up Mount Stewart with it. I wanted to see if the Thermofan would cook the motor, basically, if it was capable of doing the job with a massive load. I'm asking a lot of this thing. And yeah, as with the no load situation, I found out that the temperature was coming up. I think I got not even a kilometre into the climb, and I was seeing 100 degrees, and I said to Jeremy, who was with me on that drive, look, that 100 degrees is my cutoff, so I had to find somewhere to pull up and let it cool down, which I did. I continued to where I am now and turned around with no problems. Mind you, the temperature was high.
Alright, so what you've seen there is pretty much a wrap. So what happened is, around town, no worries. In summer, height of summer, that Thermofan is plenty sufficient to keep the car cool. It just kicks in and out of low and high speed as it needs to without drama. Another tick for the highway operation. Just as you see it, everything was done with the car at its usual load for me, which is about 2.7 tonnes. So that's about 500 kilo in this thing all the time. So around town highway, beautiful, no worries. Towing in normal situations, so around town highway, that type of driving. Yep, that's another tick. The temperature with the 2-tonne trailer on the back, no worries. Thermofan did the job very nicely. And you saw low range, four-wheel driving conditions. Yep, that was fantastic. So there's a lot of boxes ticked right there, but what it didn't tick was with the car in everyday condition. So this load, as you see it right now, with the 33s, drawers, fridge, all that stuff, Thermofan was not sufficient. Going up Mount Stewart, which is a very steep mountain, it's a mountain. It got up and it hit my cutoff point, which was 100 degrees. So I had to pull up, let it cool down, and continue. And obviously the same with the 2-tonne trailer on, going up the hill. So, I mean, the reason that I did that is, imagine if you were towing a caravan, for instance, or something else. This is kind of data that you need. If I was going on a trip, maybe I have a trailer on the back, I come across a hill in my travels or whatever, you know, I need to know that it's going to stay cool. I don't want my car overheating while I'm on a holiday with my family, and the wife doesn't like it when things go wrong with the car on a holiday, just say it. So there's that. And that is a bit of a letdown. As I said before, I expected that it would have trouble doing that. Worst case scenario, summertime, which up here, you never go camping in summer. It's way too hot to do that. but you've got to put these things through their paces, and you've got to get the data to do it. So I did it with the engine fan, and the engine fan did it, no worries. Yes, it got hot with 2 ton of trailer behind it, as anything would. Excuse me, especially given the weight inside the car already, so you really got 2.5 ton behind it. But then, yeah, that was the only letdown for this Thermofan. Now, it's still in there now. The car's on the CTAC, as it always is when I don't use it for some time. I've just come back from that camping out at the 4-wheel drive farm again. So the Thermofan's going to stay in this thing. The only time that I will take the Thermofan out is if I'm going on a long trip away where I know there's going to be lots of hill climb type stuff going on and it's hot. Most of the time I go north here, which makes it hotter for us. So there's that. This is my summary. I'm leaving this in. It takes about 10 minutes to change the Thermofan out and put the engine fan back in. I've still got the engine fan and cowling. Just a matter of taking this top hose off here, out with the Thermofan, in with the belt fan. It only takes bugger all to do that. I could, if I wanted to, I could take it on trips with me, let's be honest. And as you would have seen from the fuel consumption series, the Thermofan was way better on fuel, way better. And just from the four-wheel driving that I've recently done, it also improves fuel consumption when towing as well, massively. So that's a big benefit there. You've got to decide if you want to try and do something like this to your four-wheel drive or your car. The letdown that I found, hill climbs. Everywhere else, no worries. Are the fuel consumption gains worth having this thing in all the time? I'm going to say yes for me, and that's why it's still in there. And if I know that I'm going to need to use it, I'm going to put the fan back in, the engine fan back in, and use it. But otherwise, fantastic. Hope you really enjoyed this series, guys. It took me a long time to get together. So enjoy, and hopefully there's a part 5 coming when winter strikes, which is just starting now, and I'm still wearing shorts and a shirt, so it's not very cold here. I'll see you next time, guys. Next video coming out very soon.